Hello everyone, welcome to another vlog. I always try to share my days as they truly are. No scripting or heavy editing. And today, honestly, I have two things to accomplish. First, I got the new Macbook Neo just now. I'm on my way from the store and I wanted to stop by and unbox it for you guys. I got it because I thought it would be cool to compare how it does against the existing Mac lineup, and also because I feel like it could be one of the most important Apple products released recently. So the first part of the video is going to be a super relaxing unboxing, and I'm going to give you my first impressions of the build and also some thoughts about it. And then in the second part we're going to do some coding. Today, I really just wanted to share this moment with you guys and take advantage of these big windows that we have here to have a proper look at this new machine. And later, of course, because I know my audience is very technical, we will be doing some coding and we're going to take a look behind the scenes of developing a moderately popular app for the Mac, thousands of real daily active users and all the tasks that come with that. But first, why is this laptop probably the most important device from Apple in a long time, in my humble opinion? Well, it's because we live in a world of increasingly more expensive computers, and it's really hard for people who are just getting into tech to start off with a decent device. Just the RAM prices alone are destroying the market, and on top of that, Microsoft has really done such a bad job with Windows recently that this device might have just landed at the most optimal moment to give us all a sanctuary from exorbitant prices and obnoxious Copilot integrations. I remember back in the days when I went to university, I had like a 15-inch Core i5 Toshiba laptop, which at the time was kind of in this same price range. But man, it was a piece of junk. It was all plastic, the Wi-Fi wouldn't connect half the time, but still it carried me through university. And so out of personal curiosity, I wanted to see what the same money could get me today if I were starting over. And so here we have the base model. And if you have been watching my channel for some time, you know that I've scaled back to only purchasing and using the base model of Apple's computers. Right now I have a base M4 MacBook Air with 16GB of RAM, and I never really experienced any performance problems. So I wondered what kind of user experience and performance can we expect from 8GB. Coincidentally, this is the same amount of money that my Toshiba laptop had, and frankly, I know I didn't have any major performance issues with it either, although admittedly at the time I was using Linux with my trusty i3 window manager, which was really super lightweight, and that's probably the reason I got into making my own window manager years later for the Mac, but more on that later. Now, opening the box and picking this thing up for the first time, it feels very dense. Reminds me a lot of the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which I also used to have. I actually used a 14-inch M4 Pro MacBook Pro before I bricked it with a cup of coffee, and then I scaled back to an M4 Air. And this thing feels a lot more like the Pro chassis than the Air. One disappointment though, which I've read about in the specs, is that one of the USB-C ports is USB 3, but the other is only USB 2. I think in 2026 this shouldn't really be legal at any price point. Even my Toshiba laptop had two USB 3 ports in like 2014-15. But then at the same time, I don't remember when was the last time I used a USB port on my MacBook other than for charging. And so this is how sometimes reading the spec sheets can be a little bit misleading in terms of what you actually need versus what they tell you you need. One thing I noticed right away as well is that the silver finish on this thing is spectacular. There are zero fingerprints, and actually, no matter how much I tried, I couldn't leave a single fingerprint on it. And when I compare this to my M4 Air, which is the midnight finish, it's the complete opposite. No matter how much I try to keep it clean, it always looks like I just don't really care about it at all. And if you watched my channel before, you know that I do. The other thing I like about the Neo is the placement of the speakers, which is on the side, and that's much better than the Pro model, which has them next to the keyboard. This makes it much more difficult for random junk to fall into the speaker grill. Take it from someone who is obsessed with cleaning their device. In the box we also have the regular stuff, the little information booklet, and a single USB-C cable for charging, but no charger. Alright, in order to fully test this machine I will have to go home, set it up, make sure it updates, which it always does on the first boot, and install the apps that I use every day. I'm not going to attempt doing this on the bakery Wi-Fi, so now I'm just going to open up my trusty M4 Air and we're going to continue with some coding. But because I bought this Mac Neo with my own money, and because even though my app is pretty popular, it is still for the most part entirely free. So we have a quick sponsored segment to keep the lights on, and then we will see firsthand from the code why Apple is not really the perfect company after all. If you are a software engineer right now, you already know the market is rough. More applicants per role, more ghosting, and the good listings get 200 applications in the first 24 hours. I came across a tool worth knowing about and decided to test it. It's called jobhire.ai. You basically set your filters, it finds matching roles, tailors your resume and cover letter to each one, and can even apply automatically, but with you still in control. The whole point is that you're not spending hours on repetitive applications, and you're not missing opportunities just because you didn't check the right site that day. What I actually like about it is that it surfaces listings you wouldn't easily find on your own. Smaller companies, fresher postings, which means less competition. It's not easy finding a job in this economy, but it's worth giving ourselves the best possible chance. And JobHire offers a money-back guarantee if you don't get an interview within 15 days, which is honestly a bold promise, but also speaks to the confidence that they have in the service. So if you're job hunting or even just wondering about what potential opportunities are out there for you, hit the link in the description, and using the discount code MARCO20 you can get 20% off. Alright, back to work after having fun with unboxing. But first I have to turn off light mode so we can see what's going on. So just for context, I've been working for a long time on a macOS utility app that's like a window manager, a clipboard history, system monitoring, and a disk cleaner, and a few other useful utilities. And in late 2025, I spent considerable effort to redesign and re-implement the UI to support Glass UI. However, the most requested feature in the last few weeks has been to support macOS Sequoia, because people are fed up with Apple's incompetence to design a readable and coherent user interface with this Glass UI. So in my previous vlog, I started on this task, but it just so happened that I forgot to charge my Mac before starting work, and that vlog turned into a race against the clock to code up as much as I can before the battery went out. You should definitely watch it. I think you'd be surprised how much you can actually get done on one of these machines on just 3% battery. However, I didn't get to finish the whole backporting effort, so I spent some time at home in the meantime replacing occurrences of new APIs with my own compatibility layer, and at last I got it to compile. But at what cost? There are so many small changes, mainly around buttons and some collections, but I've managed to get them all replaced with better supported variants. I even asked Claude to help me out with a simple task because I was too mentally tired to go around and fix every single button. But I was extra careful to mention that for some buttons you might need to use a different convenience initializer. You're just a lot of hand holding, man, because I don't feel like having to deal with slop in my production codebase. As a side note, lately the Claude app on the phone has been absolute garbage for me. It constantly forgets chats. Not like Claude forgetting what I said, but like the app failing to load the contents of a chat and stuff like that. I mean, it's really starting to feel like the whole thing is just vibe coded from the server all the way up. And I'm so done with that shit, man. So at this point, I needed to find a way to trigger the compatibility UI mode, even though I am running macOS Tahoe. And after trying a few things, I realized I can just require macOS version 27 for Glass UI, and that will force everything to use a fallback version. After that, now that my project finally compiles, I had to sort of write my own Glass-like UI. And for the developers in the audience, we will go back to the gold standard of UI, which will bring back many fond memories, I am sure, the ultra-thin material. And for good measure, on my side, I added an outline just to emulate the glass-like sheen that we have in Tahoe. Now, that wasn't quite what I was going for, but man, the material background is already way more readable. So much easier to read the text, and it feels so much more usable. There's just no other way of putting it. Then I tested the system monitoring dashboard and the clipboard history, and I must say I kind of like it. Apart from some minor animation glitches glitches in the clipboard history, which are going to be an easy fix, and also the ugly borders, I'm thinking of actually making this UI skin an option for Tahoe users as well. From there, I fixed the outline by applying some mask to make it semi-transparent in certain areas, and I must say that after tweaking the values here and there, I started liking this version even more. I mean, even the window switcher feature looked quite nice right out of the box. So there you have it. Spend weeks updating the app to support native Glass UI, only to roll your own in about 30 minutes and realize that my version is already more readable and accessible than Apple's own. What can you do? But I think it's becoming clear that I should let users decide for themselves whether or not they want to use the native Glass or the more readable and accessible compatibility version. In the next vlog, I'll be finishing up this refactor, but on the new Mac Neo, which will be an awesome test of the real-world performance and battery life. So if you're interested to see, make sure to subscribe. And if you enjoyed the vlog, drop me a like and a comment. I really appreciate it, because I'm just a guy doing this YouTube thing all by myself, and it really helps me a lot. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.